Welcome to Cheetah Secrets. Let's jump straight into today's story. My name is Paul Preston. I'm 41 years old, and I own a boutique IT consulting company that I built myself over the past 11 years. It's not glamorous or loud, but it's reliable. We handle contracts for a handful of Fortune 500 companies, and the income is consistent enough that financial stress is no longer part of my life. My house is fully paid off. I don't carry any debt. The company's current valuation sits just shy of $4 million. I met Lena 3.5 years ago at a mutual friend's birthday dinner. She worked in marketing, was intelligent, witty, and had a sharp confidence that drew me in. Our relationship began cautiously, then picked up speed. About a year in, she moved into my place. The following 2 years were mostly good. She enjoyed the comfortable parts of my lifestyle, the peaceful home, the travel, the dining experiences. I didn't resent that. I enjoyed sharing what I'd earned with someone I loved. 6 months ago, I proposed to her in Cabo. I planned everything carefully: the ring, the sunset, a private dinner on the beach. She said yes before I even finished the question. She told me it was the happiest day of her life, and I believed her. Once we returned home, she went all in on wedding planning. Touring venues, choosing color palettes, reviewing floral options. I didn't push back. If that process made her happy, I was fine letting her lead it. Then, about a month ago, Lena floated a new idea. One evening over wine, she casually suggested we buy a second property. Nothing extravagant, maybe a lake house we could rent out on weekends when we weren't using it. On the surface, it sounded reasonable. But she mentioned the property would be in both our names, and that set off alarms in my head. I called my attorney, Evan, and decided it was time to move forward with a prenuptial agreement. I hadn't raised the topic when we got engaged, but now that shared purchases were being discussed, I knew I needed clear boundaries before finances became intertwined. I told Evan exactly what I wanted: a straightforward prenup that protected everything I'd built before the relationship: my company, my home, my investments. He agreed it was a sensible step and said he'd have a draft ready the following week. The agreement would clearly define separate premarital assets, fully protect my business, and include a standard spousal support clause tied to the length of the marriage, just in case things didn't work out. Simple. Practical. Necessary. When the moment felt right, I brought it up. "Hey," I said, "I want to talk to you about something." She looked up at me, smiling. "Sure. What's going on?" "I had Evan prepare a prenup," I said. "It's basic. I want you to look it over." She blinked. Then she laughed. "A prenup?" she said. "You're kidding, right?" I wasn't. But she kept smiling, convinced I was joking. "I'm serious," I said. "It's just a standard agreement. It protects what we each brought into the relationship. Nothing complicated." She put her glass down. "Paul, we're getting married. What's yours is mine. What's mine is yours. That's how marriage works." "No," I replied evenly. "That's how some people see it. I spent more than a decade building my company. I don't want it exposed if things ever fall apart." Her eyebrows lifted. "So you already think we're going to fail?" "No," I said. "I think being protected is smart. It's not romantic, but it's responsible." She laughed again, but this time it was sharp and dismissive. "So you think I'm the kind of woman who's going to come after your money?" "I think I don't want to take that chance with anyone," I said. "It's not personal." She scoffed. "That's rich. You talk non-stop about trust and partnership, and now you want me to sign a contract like I'm some kind of gold digger." "It's just a safeguard," I said. "You keep what's yours. I keep what's mine." She stared at me for a long moment, then leaned back in her chair. "No," she said. "I'm not signing anything. If you trust me, you don't need it. And if you don't trust me, why are we even getting married?" I didn't respond. She wasn't finished. "I'm not marrying someone who thinks I'm here to take from them. You either marry me exactly as things are, or you don't marry me at all." The words landed hard. She didn't sound angry. She sounded calculated. Like she was closing a deal. I nodded once. "Okay." She smiled, assuming she'd won. Good. I'm glad that's settled. No, I said. Okay, as in, not at all. Her smile vanished instantly. What? You gave me an option, I said. I'm choosing not at all. She froze, then stood abruptly. You're ending our engagement over a piece of paper? I'm ending it because you just showed me who you really are. She didn't say another word. She grabbed her phone and went upstairs. I stayed seated and texted Evan. Don't finalize the prenup. The engagement is over. 2 minutes later, he replied. Understood. Do you want me to prepare a formal cancellation? Not yet, I wrote. Give me 48 hours. I'll handle it. The next morning, Lena came downstairs as if nothing had happened. Hairstyled, gym bag slung over her shoulder. Morning, she said, pouring herself coffee. We should probably go look at that lake house this weekend. I didn't look up from my laptop. There's not going to be a lake house. She stopped. Excuse me? There's not going to be a wedding either. She stared at me. You're serious? Completely, I said. I started calling vendors last night. She set her mug down with more force than necessary. You didn't even give me time to process. You gave me an ultimatum, I replied. I answered it. You're being ridiculous. No, I said. I'm being careful. She walked out without another word. She didn't come home that night, and I didn't expect her to. That day, I started unraveling everything. I emailed Olivia, the wedding planner, and told her to pause all preparations. I called the florist, the caterer, and the DJ. I wasn't just stepping away from Lena, I was dismantling the event she had been building. That evening, I sat down and separated the last of our shared finances. We only had 2 joint accounts, mainly used for travel and shared expenses. I redirected my income back to my personal account, changed all my banking passwords, and reset 2-factor authentication. I emptied the joint accounts but left them open temporarily. I'd close them once everything was fully resolved. Lena texted once. Can we talk tomorrow in person? I replied. I'll be home around 6 o'clock. I wasn't expecting remorse. I was expecting a sales pitch. And I was right. She arrived calm, smiling, acting as though the previous 24 hours hadn't happened. Let's just start over, she said. I overreacted. You overreacted. We both said things. We love each other, right? I do love you, I said. But love without respect doesn't last. And your response to the prenup told me everything I needed to know. Paul, come on. One argument doesn't erase an entire future. No, I said. But it reveals what that future was really going to look like. Over the next 3 days, Lena tried every approach. At first, she was gentle and affectionate. She shifted strategies after that. One night she cooked dinner, the next morning there were handwritten notes waiting beside the coffee maker, and she kept calling me babe like the breakup hadn't happened. I didn't react. I wasn't hostile, but I was finished. There was nothing left to discuss. Then her tone hardened. So you're really throwing away 3 years, she said, because I laughed at some contract? No, I replied. I'm walking away because you refused it without even asking what it said. She snapped back instantly. Oh please. You just want control. No, Lena, I said. I wanted protection. And you're the one who issued the ultimatum. Don't forget that. The following day, she started making calls. I found out when my sister messaged me. What's going on? Lena says you cancelled the wedding because you don't believe in commitment anymore. I didn't reply. Anyone who actually knew me would eventually figure out the truth. By the weekend, Lena packed up, but not quietly. Standing at the door with a suitcase, she announced she'd be staying with Rachel for a few days. Take whatever time you need, I said. She paused, staring at me. You're going to regret this. I already regret not asking for the prenup earlier, I answered. She slammed the door on her way out. That Sunday, I called Evan again. End everything, I told him. I don't want any legal or financial ties to her. He hesitated. You sure this isn't emotional? I'm sure, I said. She showed me exactly who she becomes when money enters the picture. That week, I finished separating the rest of our life. Utilities, subscriptions, a shared storage unit. Everything was untangled one item at a time. Then the bank called. Cascade Bank's fraud department informed me they'd flagged suspicious activity on one of my accounts, specifically the joint travel fund Lena and I used to share. Early Wednesday morning, someone had attempted to transfer $25,000 to an outside account. The transfer didn't go through. There was no money left to move. What triggered the alert was the access point, a new IP address combined with saved login credentials. The destination account was registered in Lena's name. The bank had temporarily locked the account and advised me to update all passwords and add additional security layers. I thanked them and hung up. Then I sat there in silence. She had tried to pull $25,000 from an account that was already empty. If I hadn't acted quickly days earlier, she might have succeeded. That night, I texted her. "We need to talk. Call me." She replied with a thumbs-up emoji. Predictable. When she called, her voice was overly casual. "Hey Paul, what's going on? You tried to move $25,000 from the travel account." "Nothing. Don't lie," I continued. "The bank contacted me. You logged in using saved credentials." "I was just checking the balance," she said. "I didn't actually transfer anything." "You attempted to," I said. "It failed because there was nothing there." She sighed. "Fine. I wanted to see what you were hiding. You emptied everything overnight like I was a stranger. Because you acted like one. I didn't steal anything. You tried to. You're blowing this out of proportion." "No, Lena. I'm responding to it. You crossed a serious line." She didn't argue again. She just hung up. Saturday morning, I was in the garage sorting through old boxes when I heard the front door open. I walked inside and found Lena standing in the entryway, holding a reusable grocery bag, looking like she'd never left. "You can't just come in here," I said. "I still have a key," she replied. "We need to talk face to face." "You should have called. I knew you wouldn't answer." She set the bag down, folded her arms, and stood there. After a moment, she spoke. "I messed up," she said. "I panicked. I felt like you were shutting me out, and I got scared." "You didn't panic," I said calmly. "You logged in, chose an account, and entered your own routing number. That's not fear. That's intent." "I wasn't going to take it," she said quickly. I don't know. I thought you owed me something." "Owed you?" I repeated. "You lived in my house. I paid every bill. I invited you into my life. I didn't owe you anything then, and I definitely don't now." She had no response. She just stood there, suddenly smaller. "I'll sign the prenup," she said quietly. "If that's what you want." I shook my head. This stopped being about the prenup a long time ago. "Then what was it?" "You laughed when I tried to protect what I built. You gave me an ultimatum. And when it didn't work, you tried to take money anyway. You weren't looking for a partnership, you were looking for a payout. That's not fair." "It's accurate." She walked into the kitchen and pulled out a chair, like we were about to have a normal conversation. I didn't sit. "You really think this is over because of one bad night?" she asked. "No," I said. "It's over because I finally believe you." "Believe what?" "That you never intended to build anything with me. You just thought you'd found an easier path." Her face tightened, like tears were coming, but none fell. I opened the front door. "It's time to leave, Lena." By Monday, I filed a police report. I brought transaction logs, timestamps, and screenshots from the bank. Detective Moreno took my statement, straightforward, no theatrics, just facts. He explained the incident qualified as attempted electronic theft, a Class C felony under state law. Because no funds were lost, it could potentially be resolved through a deferred agreement or settlement. That didn't change my decision. I wasn't seeking revenge. I wanted a record. Proof that it happened. 2 days later, Lena's attorney contacted me, Mitchell Durham. Smooth voice, measured tone. He proposed resolving everything quietly. Lena would sign an affidavit admitting to the login attempt, offer restitution, and issue a formal apology if I agreed to drop the charges. I declined. The fact that no money was taken wasn't a reason to walk away, it was evidence that I'd moved fast. This wasn't curiosity or confusion. It was deliberate. She made a calculated move and got caught. Evan and I still reviewed the offer. In the end, Lena accepted deferred adjudication, no jail time, 2 years of probation, restitution to the bank for investigation costs, and mandatory cybersecurity education. If she stayed clean, the charge would be sealed. I didn't push further. I wasn't after punishment, just clarity. Eventually, the truth surfaced. A few friends who had gone quiet reached out again. "You were right," one of them admitted. "We just didn't want to see it." I didn't gloat. I didn't need to. Lena never contacted me again. Her parents didn't either. 3 months later, I bought a lake house. Not the one she wanted, the one I chose. Remote, quiet, no neighbors for half a mile. I paid cash and closed in under a week. I drove out alone that weekend. Just me, the water, and a porch facing the lake. The calm hit immediately. Like my body finally aligned with a decision my mind had already made. I avoided a disaster. The prenup was never about mistrust or fear. It was about boundaries. About protecting a life I built from someone who smiled while calculating how much of it they could take. She laughed when I mentioned it, convinced I'd fold. She thought the ring, the house, the wedding plans would trap me. She was wrong. Those things weren't leverage. They were logistics. Respect was the real commitment. And the moment she laughed at mine, it was over. That laugh told me I wasn't a partner to her, I was a prize. The attempted transfer was the final confirmation. Not an emotional mistake, but a test. One last attempt to walk away with something. She left with nothing. No wedding. No second home. No access to anything tied to my name. And I walked away with everything that mattered. My identity, my business, and my peace. The prenup wasn't the problem. Her reaction was. And her ultimatum? The best deal I ever declined. Thank you for watching.